Delegation of Financial Power Rules, 2019. Come into force on November 29, 2019. The Governor of Tripura is pleased to make under clause of Article 166 of the Constitution of India. To appropriation means the assignment o meet specified. Expenditure of funds included in a primary unit of appropriation. To charged expenditure means the expenditure charged on the consolidated fund of Tripura as listed in Article 202 of the Constitution of India. Article 202 in the Constitution of India 1949. The following expenditure shall be expenditure charged on the consolidated fund of each state: the emoluments and allowances of the governor and other expenditure relating to his office, the salaries and allowances of the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker of the Legislative Assembly and, in the case of state having a Legislative Council, also of the Chairman and the Deputy Chairman of the Legislative Council. Debt charges for which the state is liable including interest, sinking fund charges and redemption charges, and other expenditure relating to the raising of loans and the service and redemption of debt. Expenditure in respect of the salaries and allowances of judges of any high court. Any sums required to satisfy an judgment, decree, or award of any court or arbitral tribunal. Any other expenditure declared by this Constitution, or by the legislature of the state by law, to any other expenditure declared by this Constitution, or by the legislature of the state by law, to be so charged. To contingent expenditure. Contingent expenditure means all incidentals and other expenditure including expenditure on store which is incurred for the management of an office, for the working of technical establishments such as a laboratory, a workshop, an industrial installation, a farm, and the like. But does not include any expenditure which has been specifically classified as falling under some other head of expenditure such as works, tools, and plants and the like. To continuing scheme. Continuing scheme is one which has been administratively and financially approved in the previous year and continues to be under implementation. To controlling officer. Controlling officer means and includes the secretaries of all departments in respect of departments under their respective charge unless otherwise notified by the Finance Department. To DDO. DDO means the head of office and includes any gazetted officer serving under the head of office to sign a bill or order for him as authorized by him as per provision of Rule 142 of Central Treasury 142 of the Central Treasury. The debt of an office may authorize any gazetted officer serving under him to sign a bill or order for him, communicating the name and specimen signature of the officer to the disbursing office concerned. This will not, however, relieve the head of the office in any way of his responsibility for the accuracy of the bill or for the disposal of the money received in payment. Rules as adopted in the state. To department. Department means the department of the state government as notified from time to time and for the purpose of these rules includes the Governor's Secretariat, the Legislative Assembly Secretariat and government bodies set up by the state government. To each case. Each case means in respect of non-recurring expenditure incurred at a given point of time and in respect of recurring expenditure, each type of expenditure of a recurring nature. Explanation. An authority empowered to sanction expenditure on any recurring item, say up to Rs 1500 per annum, will be competent to sanction expenditure on the item on a number of occasions subject to the limit of Rs 1500 per annum. 2. Head of Department. Head of Department means government officers who have been notified as head of department by orders issued by the state government in the Finance Department. Head of office means government officers subordinate to the head of department declared by any department of state government or head of department to be head of office in respect of an independent establishment. 2. Local bodies and new scheme. Local bodies means urban local bodies and rural local bodies. New scheme is a scheme which is not a continuing scheme. Non-recurring expenditure means expenditure other than recurring expenditure. Non-recurring expenditure means expenditure other than recurring expenditure. Past cases mean cases which were pending for decision on the date these rules came into force. Primary unit of appropriation means a primary unit of appropriation as subhead specified in the budget publication in which detailed demands for grants including charged expenditure are provided for a year under which all expenditures are accounted. Public works means civil/electrical works including public buildings, public services, transport infrastructure etc., both original and repair works and any other project, including infrastructure which is for the use of general public. Reappropriation means the transfer of funds from one primary unit of appropriation to another such unit. Recurring expenditure means expenditure which is incurred regularly at periodicals intervals. Secretaries include the Chief Secretary, additional Chief Secretaries, Principal Secretaries, Secretaries, Special Secretaries, and additional secretaries who are holding independent charge of departments. Subcontrolling officer means and includes district magistrate and collector of their respective districts and any other authority under controlling officer of any department notified as such. Subordinate authority means an authority subordinate to a department of the government or a head of department. Administrative approval means the formal acceptance by the department concerned for an original work other than a petty work costing Rs 50,000/ or under to be undertaken for the department either by the Public Works Department or the department or agency to which the work may have been assigned by the governor. Expenditure sanction means the sanction of government or of an authority to which powers has been delegated to incur expenditure of public money for a specified purpose and is subject to appropriation of funds. Technical sanction means the sanction of the competent authority to a properly detailed estimate for a work to be done. A technical sanction amounts to a guarantee that the proposals are technically sound, and that the estimates are accurately prepared and are based on adequate data. Miscellaneous expenditure means all expenditure other than expenditure falling under the category of pay and allowances of government servants, leave salary, pensions, contingencies, grants in aid, contribution works, stock, tools and plant and the like. Revenue expenditure means expenditure incurred on normal running of the government departments and maintenance of services, interest charges on debt incurred by for government, subsidies, and so on. Broadly speaking, it is an expenditure which does not lead to any creation of assets or reduction in liability is treated as revenue expenditure. Capital expenditure, an expenditure which either involves creation of an asset, investment in shares, acquisition of valuables, loans, and advances granted by the government or reduces liability is called capital expenditure. This type of expenditure adds to the capital stock of the economy and raises its capacity to produce more in future. Administrative department, wherever power is delegated to department or administrative department, it has to be exercised by secretary with the approval of minister in charge of department or secretary of the department himself if so delegated by the minister in charge. Outsourcing of services means deployment of outside agencies on a sustained long term for performance of other services which were traditionally being done in-house by the employees of ministries/departments. Besides outsourcing, other services also include procurement of short-term standalone services. 3. Budgeting. Through discussions with the controlling officer, Finance Department will indicate in advance the ceilings of expenditure for various departments under different demands, on the basis of past actuals as reported by the controlling officers and the Accountant General, trend variations and other adjustments as considered necessary. Based on availability of resources and outcome of previous budget and priority of the government. On receipt of the budget proposals, Finance Department will examine them and prepare consolidated budget proposals by major heads. For provision of funds by the legislature. Demands for grants and appropriation for charged and voted expenditure are presented to the legislature on behalf of the departments. After the demands have been voted and the Appropriation Act has been passed, the amount authorized by law becomes available to the departments only after being released by the Finance Department through online CTOS software to meet the sanctioned expenditure. 5. Allotment of funds. After the budget has been passed, the administrative departments shall allot the provision under different units among the controlling officers out of the fund released online by the Finance Department. It shall be the responsibility of departments and controlling officers to ensure the budgetary provision for different schemes separately under state fund. 6. General limitations on power to sanction expenditure. In all cases, the following fundamental conditions must be fulfilled before government money can be used for any kind of expenditure. I. That public revenue may be spent only on legitimate objects of public expenditure. 2. That there is specific authority or sanction to incur the expenditure or make the payment or advance the money. 3. The authority or sanction to incur the expenditure or make the payment or advance, shall not be operative unless funds to meet it have been available by appropriation. 4. Funds should ordinarily be drawn only when the expenditure is imminent. V. No funds should be drawn merely to avoid lapse of budget provisions and to show expenditure by deposition in civil deposit/P.L. An authority may sanction expenditure or advance of money only in those cases where it is authorized to do so by these or any other rules issued by or with the approval of the Finance Department. The provisions of any law for the time being in force. Any general order or special order of the governor or other competent authority. Fund has been sanctioned or committed in writing. If only part fund is available and work is divisible, work may be taken up in phased manner. No expenditure shall be incurred against a sanction unless funds are made available by appropriation or reappropriation.